The biennial National Business Conference, where thought leaders, industry captains and all other relevant stakeholders convene in Francistown once every 2 years to discuss ideas on how to make Botswana internationally competitive.
This year's theme, Invigorating Economic Transformation Through the Private Sector, aimed to bring the attention to how the private sector can take charge in leading the economy and how government can create a conducive environment to do so. Above that, how the private sector can take advantage of the already existing initiatives and programs for cross-border market access.
Among the participants and one of the platinum sponsors of the event were First National Bank of Botswana. Theirs was to discuss with other panelists how the private sector can take advantage of already existing free trade agreements such as the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement to help local clients expand their portfolios beyond our borders.
On the sidelines of the conference, First Issues had a sit-down with Harriet Mlalazi, Director at Rand Merchant Bank, a subsidiary of First National Bank.
Harriet, thank you so much for coming on First Issues and affording us your time. We are at the Botswana National Business Conference, the 17th edition, and this year's theme is Invigorating Economic Transformation Through the Private Sector. And you were part of a panel discussion that was speaking to accelerating transformation through AFC, the AFCFTA. So let us talk there. How has RMB helped its client take advantage of the various free trade agreements that exist for our region?
Thank you for having me. I think I'd like to rather speak about FNB and RMB because I think there's very close synergies there, and the big part of initiatives that we're driving at a group level are for commercial clients that sit in the FNB space. So we've done a lot. I think the first thing when we talk any free trade agreement and any initiative targeted at export, right? We're targeting businesses. And a big issue that we have is information, knowledge, access, capacity for SMEs. So a big initiative that we've been driving is to say, how do we assist these SMEs build capacity? We've recently rolled out a program called Firstpreneur, which is really taking a cohort of SMEs and taking them through rigorous training to aid them with financial management, with how they run businesses, how they identify markets, and all of that, with a plan to aiding them have viable, well-run, well-managed businesses. The second part is information and capacitating now on the RMB side, our corporates and also our SMEs who are now looking to expand into the region. We recently rolled out a way to invest in Africa publication, which was really giving insights to entities on the different initiatives in the region, the different countries, the different markets, how they are structured, what the strengths and weaknesses of all those markets are, so that one can have a look at those markets and say, where can I tap into these, right? And then the other thing that we've done, and we've been doing this for a while, is to provide companies, corporates, businesses with solutions to help them manage the risk of international trade. The moment you go outside your borders, you're talking to either a buyer or a supplier that you do not know. How do you know their legitimacy? How do you know they'll deliver? And all those things. So we have products that will aid them such that somebody knows, oh, before I pay, these are the deliverables that must be in place, and the bank has instruments that will ensure our people are not taken for a ride. And this is all in the name of really facilitating Africa trade activities.
Well, you've just been speaking about growth, and even earlier in your answer, you spoke about growth for your clients into the broader African market. And when we talk about growth, collaboration can never be overstated, right?
Yeah.
So how has the bank leveraged the access that the country has to these different players in different countries to have access to a talent pool to actually help your clients grow with different levels of expertise in different key industries that they are playing in?
We have presence in other African markets. And in those markets, we have bankers with extensive experience, right? So what we've done is twofold. And we have our own people. I mean, our talent in this country is amazing. So what we've done is we've taken our people who've got this immense capacity and have them do stuff for other countries. So as we sit, when you talk digitization, we've got developers in the country that currently develop solutions that have been rolled out and implemented in other parts of FNB, in other countries. So it went beyond just developing for Botswana to developing for other subsidiaries. Similarly, we tap into skills in other markets. So we have a lot of exchange programs where you see people coming from Botswana to go and work in other markets, sometimes vice versa, those coming from there to come and work here, so that we exchange in terms of skills. The other big thing is, obviously, all this exchange, what is it really for? It's ultimately to benefit our customers, right? We want our customers to be able to reach out into other markets. If they want to set up there, they know where there is FNB, where there is RNB, there is a familiar name.
Well, Harriet, growth is it's a progressive thing, right? We need to, as we are here at the conference, talk about key takeaways that will always help the private sector, for example, partake in the transformation of the economy. So what would you say are those key takeaways that will, from here, help you as a bank, help your clients to continually grow?
So you see, gosh, we've been talking for years, right? And now we're at a turning point. The economy needs all of us to stand together. So I do think that the first thing is, that's it. It's over. It's time to stop talking and start doing, and fail as we do, but do something. The second part is we are so siloed. Everybody's doing their own thing. There's very limited collaboration. If people, our entities want to export, everybody's exporting their own thing. One person is exporting 7, the other 12. We can pull resources. We can go back to, similar to what we used to have with corporations back in the day, and really come together so that we've got the scale if we're going outside the country. But the biggest thing is really that it is time that we really do more and we are a lot more coordinated. I think from our panel discussion, a takeaway I really liked was when somebody said, let's identify 4 sectors and go big in those sectors, develop the value chain, like really all rally around. These are the sectors that we're putting in front, and there is dedicated focus.
In the end, what resolutions were reached to help the private sector take the intended lead? Mpapi Tsolofelo, Head of Policy and Research at Business Botswana, now sits with First Issues.
Papi, thank you so much for coming on First Issues and affording us your time. We're here today to talk about the ended 17th edition National Business Conference that was held in Francistown. So let us talk about that. What do you think were the most pertinent issues that were raised there? Maybe perhaps the findings, if you will.
Thank you so much for having me and for continuously helping with the coverage to send the message out there. We wrapped off the NBC on the 28th with significant activity, which was the debate of the resolutions. One would look at the discussions, the robust discussions around issues of public procurement. How do we make it more efficient by eliminating some of the efficiencies that were discussed? There were discussions around how do we ensure transformative leadership on issues of mindset in the way in which we want to implement, because as you may be aware, the issue of implementation is a critical issue, and for this year we combined it with the issue of mindset change. The issues around digitalization, how do we really ensure that we digitize all that we are doing to be able to drive our economic activities, and also issues around export. How do we facilitate for us to be able to export better? We link in that with the issues around value chain development. How do we make sure that we add value to what we are doing rather than exporting it in raw form?
During that discussion that you had on the last day of the conference, you rightly said that you were debating resolutions as well. So after those key findings that you just mentioned, what did you resolve would be the solutions to addressing these issues?
There were things around, resolutions around digitizing our implementation monitoring tools. As you may be aware, we are doing a lot. There's been a lot that has been agreed on, but we were not able to have them digitized such that we can easily monitor them to see for issues of transparency. There was also within the context of implementation a resolution around reactivating our high-level consultative council as a consultative structure of government and the private sector. So we need to reactivate that such that we can be able to get into those discussions that are pertinent. We don't have to wait for the next NBC in 2026 to discuss those issues, but we need to utilize our agreed upon consultative structures. There was also resolutions around improving our accountability mechanisms, because there was an idea that a number of suggestions that were put forward are actually there, but we needed a robust mechanism through which institutions that are supposed to be doing some things that are agreed can be taken to account if they don't do that.
Speaking of accountability, like you were just talking about earlier, you did say also that there were resolutions that were put forth in other previous national business conferences, but they were not implemented, right? So as part of the discussions as well was reflecting on the previous resolutions. So let us talk about why they were not implemented, or the resolutions were not a part of the business community's structures to improve the status quo.
Very important question. When we were presenting through the CEO of Business Botswana, Mulele, the previous 14, 15, 16 resolutions, we did indicate that due to time constraints, we were not able to dig deep to understand the reason behind what we were finding, because what we were finding was that because of this self-reporting, an institution will self-report and say we have done it, but we did not have the time to go deeper and say validate whether that has really been done or not. But the question that you're asking is a very, very important question that going forward we want to make sure that we correct such. That's why as Business Botswana, we are now taking ownership of monitoring the implementation of this through a transparent online system that some of our partners have agreed to assist in supporting.
Join us again next time as we bring you more conversations from the 17th Biennial National Business Conference in Francistown. For now though, stay tuned to First Issues.